Sleeping Ugly. Princess Miserella was a
beautiful princess.
If you counted her eyes, nose and mouth, and all the way down to her
toes.
But inside, where it was hard to see, she was the meanest,
wickedest
and most worthless
princess around. She liked
stepping on dogs.
She kicked kittens.
She threw pies
In the cook's face.
And she never, not even once, said please or thank you.
Now, in that very same kingdom, in the middle of the woods, lived a poor orphan named
Plain Jane.
And plain she certainly was. Her hair was
Long.
and turned down, her nose was
Small.
and turned up. And even if they had been the other way around, she would not have been a
Great beauty.
But she loved animals, and she was always kind to a strange old ladies.
One day, Princess Miserella rode her horse out of the palace gates in a big huff. She rode and rode and rode.
Looking beautiful as always.
Even with her hair in tangles. She rode right into the middle of the woods and was soon
Lost.
She got off her horse and slapped it sharply for losing the way.
The horse said nothing, but ran right back home.
So there was the princess, lost in a dark wood, without even her horse for company. Suddenly, Princess Miserella tripped over a
Little old lady asleep under a tree. Now, little old ladies who
Sleep under trees in the dark woods.
are almost always fairies in disguise.
Miserella guessed who the little old lady was, but she didn't care. She kicked the old lady hard on the bottoms of her feet.
Get up and take me home.
Said the princess quite rudely.
So the old lady got to her feet very slowly.
For the bottoms not hurt.
She took Miserella by the hand. She used only her thumb and second finger to hold Miserella's hand. The fairies know.
Quite a bit about that kind of princess.
They walked and walked even deeper in the woods.
There they found a little house. It was a dairy.
The floor sank,
The walls stank.
and the roof leaked even on sunny days. But Jane made the best out of it. She
Planted roses around the door.
This is not my home.
Said Miserella with a sniff.
Nor mine.
said the fairy.
They walked in without knocking. And there was Jane.
It's mine.
She said sweetly.
The princess looked at Jane down and up and down.
Take me home.
Said Miserella.
And as a reward, I'll make you my maid.
Some reward.
Said the fairy to herself. Out loud, she said,
If you could take both of us home, I could probably squeeze out a wish or two.
Make it 3.
Said Miserella to the fairy.
And I'll get us home.
Plain Jane smiled a thin little smile. The birds began to sing.
My home is your home.
Said Jane.
I like your manners.
Said the fairy.
And for that good thought, I'll give you 3 wishes.
Princess Miserella was not pleased. She stamped her foot.
Do that again,
Said the fairy, taking a pine wand from her pocket.
and I'll turn your food to stone.
Just to be mean, Miserella stamped her foot again.
As quick as a wink, the fairy waved her pine wand and Miserella's foot was turned to stone.
Oh! Well, I warned you. What did you expect?
Well, my first wish is that you change her food back.
The fairy made a face.
I like your manners, but not your taste.
She said to Jane.
Still, a wish is a wish.
The fairy moved the wand.
Allah Kazan.
The princess shook her foot. It was no longer made of stone.
Yes, my foot fell asleep for a moment.
Said Miserella. She really liked to lie.
Besides,
the princess said.
that was a stupid way to waste a wish.
Stupid?
The fairy was very angry.
Do not call someone stupid unless you have been properly introduced or a member of the family.
Stupid! Stupid! Stupid!
Miserella hated to be told what to do.
Say stupid one more time,
Warned the fairy, holding up her wand.
and I'll make toads come out of your mouth.
Stupid!
Shouted Miserella, and as she said it,
A large green tot,
dropped out of her mouth.
Oh, cute!
said Jane, as she stooped and picked up the tot.
And I do like toads, but
But
Asked the fairy.
Miserella did not open her mouth. Toads were among her least favorite animals.
my second wish is that you get rid of mouth toads.
she's lucky it wasn't mouth elephants.
Mumbled the fairy. She moved the pine wand.
Alakazam.
Miserella opened her mouth slowly. Nothing came out but her tongue. She pointed out at the fairy.
Blah.
Princess Miserella looked miserable. Of course, that made her look beautiful too.
I definitely have had enough.
She said,
I want to go home.
She grabbed Plain Jane's arm.
Gently, gently.
said the old fairy, shaking her head.
If you're not gentle with magic, none of us will go anywhere.
You can go where you want,
Shouted Miserella.
but there is only one place I want to go.
To sleep.
Shouted the fairy, who was now much too mad to remember to be gentle. She waved her wand.
So hard. She hit the wall of Jane's house.
The wall broke,
The wand broke.
and the spell broke upon them.
And before Jane could make her third wish,
All three of them were sound asleep. It was one of those famous 100-year naps that need a
Prince.
and a.
Kiss.
to end them.
So they slept and slept in the cottage in the woods.
They slept through 3.5 wars,
One plague,
6 new kings,
the invention of the sewing machine,
and
and the discovery of a new continent.
Now, at the end of 100 years, a princess named
Jojo.
Who was the youngest son of the youngest son, and so had.
No gold, or jewels, or property to speak of.
Came out of the woods. He stepped into the cottage over the broken wall. Inside, he saw
3 women
asleep.
with spider webs holding them to the floor.
one of them was a beautiful princess.
Being the kind of a young man who read fairy tales, Jojo knew.
Just what to do.
But Jojo had never kissed anyone before, except his mother.
Which didn't count.
And his father,
Who had a fuzzy beard.
So Jojo thought he should practice before he tried kissing the beautiful princess. So he puckered up his lips and kissed the old fairy on the nose.
Pleasant.
she smelled slightly of cinnamon. He moved on to Jane. He puckered up his lips.
And kissed her on the mouth.
Delightful.
She smelled of wild flowers.
He moved on to the beautiful princess.
But just then, the fairy and Jane woke up.
Princess Jojo's kisses had worked.
The fairy picked up the pieces of her wand. Jane looked at the prince.
I wish he loved me.
She said softly to herself.
Good wish.
Said the fairy, and she waved the 2 pieces of her wand gently.
Alakazam.
The prince looked at Miserella, who was having a bad dream and enjoying it, even frowning she was beautiful. But Jojo knew about that kind of princess. He had 3 cousins just like her.
Mistina, Pronella, and Bertina. Pretty on the outside, but really ugly within.
He remembered the smell of wild flowers and turned back to plain Jane.
I love you. What's your name?
Plain Jane.
So
they lived happily ever after. In Jane's cottage.
Prince Jojo fixed the roof and the wall and built a house next door for the old fairy.
Just for me.
They used the sleeping princess as a conversation piece when friends came to visit.
Or sometimes they stood her up in the hallway and let her hold coats and hats.
But they never let anyone kiss her awake.
Not even their children, who numbered 3.